In this chapter, I want to talk to you about the power of the group in overcoming addiction and helping get a person into treatment. You know, when we're dealing with an addicted loved one, we often become isolated. We will speak to the person one-to-one, thinking that we are maintaining a greater level of confidentiality and trust. But with the dynamics of addiction, what really happens is that the person who's suffering from alcoholism and drug addiction ends up telling a different story to all the different and most important people in his or her life. So everybody's hearing something a little bit different, which makes it very easy to play the blame game. Oh, mom said this, dad said that, my wife, my husband, my brother, my sister. Everyone gets played off of each other. And it's only when everyone comes together to really talk the problem through, and I mean without having the alcoholic there, talk the problem through, start working together and really get on the same page, that we begin to make some progress. Because the truth is, we're always in some kind of negotiation with the disease. We're always trying to negotiate, trying to make things a little bit better, and we keep on losing. And that's because we're trying to do things on a one-to-one basis or maybe a two-to-one basis. We're never getting together the entire group of concerned family and friends to speak directly to the person that we're concerned about. And of course, this is also a reason why so much of treatment and recovery work is done in groups. You know, we find that it really isn't very effective to do just one-to-one therapy, although that can be an important component of a larger treatment program. But one-to-one doesn't really work. And again, it's because the addict tends to tell different stories to different people. And so group therapy winds up being a more powerful tool than individual therapy. And of course, when you move into the 12-step groups, it's always in that group setting that the real work gets done. And so we find that that is critical in everyone's treatment and recovery. That's the real power of the group. You know, our goal, of course, is to get the person into treatment and on the road to recovery. That's what we're trying to accomplish. But when we're doing that isolated kind of one-to-one, two-to-one, we very easily fall into the enabling behaviors and into the Band-Aid approach that gets the person to maybe stop for a day or a weekend or a week, or to moderate or to change their behavior in some way, but never in the long-term healthy way that we really want to see in the long run. Because when we work as a group, what we're really trying to do is break through that denial at depth. We want to bring that person to a moment of clarity where they will see what everyone else sees so clearly. We also want to have treatment ready to go at that moment. Now, of course, we can't control completely what's going to happen in the intervention process. We can't guarantee that the person is going to go to treatment that day. Now, in our experience, 85 to 90% of people will go to treatment on intervention day, but we can't guarantee what the outcome is going to be. What we can guarantee is what we are going to say, what we are going to do, what is going to be acceptable to us and what isn't going to be acceptable. As I said a moment ago, this is really a kind of spiritual negotiation, and I would invite you to think about it in those terms. When we're working as a group in the intervention process to bring a person to a moment of clarity, we're really in many ways trying to bring about a little miracle, because we want to break through that denial, bring them to the moment of clarity, and get them to say yes where they've always said no. And of course, you can't really command a miracle to happen, but what you can do is create that space for grace where a miracle can take place. And as the family members and friends of the alcoholic or addict, you are the perfect group to do that. You know this person, you know the history, and when you come together and you are well trained and rehearsed, you will be able to create that space for grace where that miracle can take place of coming to a moment of clarity and saying yes to treatment and recovery. I know that's what was such an important thing in my life. And when it comes down to doing that intervention, we always want to do it, as we've said before, in a way that preserves the person's dignity and that really uses the power of love and concern in the group, but not love in a kind of fuzzy or flexible kind of way. when we're talking about alcoholism and drug addiction and we're acting out of love, that means that we're acting in truth and from a point of personal honesty. And when it comes to this disease and the way it runs through families like a freight train, I can only say that love does not need to compromise. Love does not compromise. Love is coming from love. We are going to do the right thing, and we are going to get that person to the help that they really need and deserve.